50,000 first home handouts. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I want to have a look at this article written by Poppy Johnston from Yahoo Finance about the coalition's counter-maneuver to Labour's first home buyer handouts. Well, they just haven't doubled it, they haven't tripled it, they've gone 5x. They've now got 50,000, 5% deposits for first home buyers. There you go. Not 10,000, 50,000. They've gone hard. Now, the concern with this is that this is going to allow people that will get into a home, but that may get into trouble and that may fall over, and then that the entire country is, all of us, are at stake for guaranteeing that loan. That's the problem, everyone. We're all taking on this liability, even the people who don't own a home, who are struggling to get in a home, who miss out on this opportunity, will have to pay it. This is the problem when the government intervenes in the market, picks winners, and takes money from one group and hands it out to others. That's the problem with all of these programs. None of them are fair. They are not fair at all. The whole thing about Australia having a fair go, it's bullshit, guys. And I can't say I'm surprised. Home ownership, housing affordability, it is a joke in Australia. We've looked at it several times. I'm going to bring up this chart here just about housing affordability. Okay, houses in 30 years have gone up 565% in 30 years. That same period, wages only went up about 335. The girls are doing better than the boys just slightly over that same period. So, yeah, okay, housing affordability is certainly an issue. I'm not surprised that that's going to become one of the core things for this election because it's just getting crazy, guys. It is just getting insane. Let me bring up another chart here just because I can't believe it. This is Brisbane, my city. Here, we'll have a look. Look at that climb. Look at that. Everyone. What's that, all houses? Hang on, let me full screen it over here. All houses approaching $1 million. So that's including the rich houses. There's three bedders, 789,000 in Brisbane. Now, just those same houses. Hang on, where's three bedders? There we go. In April 2020. In 2020, long time ago, in the great, 2 years ago, not even that. Oh, probably, roughly. It's gone from 553,000 to, to 789,000. That's insane growth. That's because Sydney and Melbourne are cooling off. They're seeing, oh, look at Brisbane. Wow, that's really cheap compared to the insane amount of money I'd have to spend in Sydney or Melbourne. The weather's better. The people are more attractive. It's fantastic. I'll move to Queensland. And there you go. It's not just Brisbane. It's the entire state where it's just going nuts. So that's why you've got these incentives for the two major parties to look at propping up or helping people get into their houses. But the problem is just continuation of more of the same mess. I don't know if it would even be possible to get elected in Australia if you didn't have a policy that catered to the first home buyer block. Because you're not only winning the votes of those who are trying to get into a home, also the parents of the people who are worried about their kids trying to get a home. So if you went up there with a policy to reduce government intervention in the market and allow a correction to housing, or to not stimulate it, to make it, what if we made it illegal for the government to actually stimulate any one sector to pick and choose and had the objective of making our government smaller? Could you imagine how that would go over here in Australia, guys? I don't know if it would be very popular. Anyway, let's have a look at this, because this 50,000, it's a lot bigger than 10,000. And let me bring up a chart here just to put it into reference. Now this here is showing, this is building approvals. Now what we're seeing here, look at the total dwellings. So for 1 month, we peaked up at 25,000, guys. We peaked up at 25,000, but look at that average. We chuck a line right through the middle, say 15,000 a month. So, maybe even 10,000, between 10 and 15,000. You're talking 4 months of housing here being funded by the government per year. So a third of the year of housing construction, or housing approval pretty much, by the government. How are we looking at that? Which one there? Private sector houses, yeah. There you go, guys. Boy. Oh, wait, no, total dwellings is the light blue. That includes apartments. So, yeah, private sector housing, about 10 grand, we'll average it out. So, yeah, 5 months. 5 months. 5 months of the year worth of housing will be now guaranteed by the government. Is that normal? Should we be doing that? 5 months of... this is for the whole country, everyone. 5 months of building approval for new homes. This is just Australia. This is just the Australian way now. They're just chucking more money at it. It's just going to drive up the cost of housing. It always does. In a bid to improve the affordability of homes in Australia's booming regional property markets, the federal government has announced a new home guarantee scheme targeted at the regions. Under the new regional home guarantee announced ahead of the 2022 budget, the government will guarantee eligible home buyers to purchase or construct a new home in regional areas. Now, here's the question I put to you, everyone. Where do you think a property is going to hold its value more? In the cities or in the regions? Just remember the mining towns, Moranbah or all of those places. Remember the real estate agents that bought all these houses at the peak? You know, when coal was just going gangbusters. I remember talking to people who were looking at bringing modular construction over, people building accommodation stuff. It was just insane. It was so stupid. People were renting out their houses and living in tents because it was worth it for them. Now, what if we have a similar thing in the regional areas? We have a boom of all these people moving there because it's where they can afford. But what if the work isn't there? Maybe they'll bring the work. It's messy. This is artificially going to push people to these areas. The government will support 10,000 people a year by guaranteeing part of the buyer's home loans, which will mean they can put a 5% deposit without paying pricey lenders' mortgage insurance. Wait, I thought it was 50,000. Is that 50,000 per the total scheme or per year? Oh, I hope it's the total scheme. I hope it's only 10,000 a year, and they're just inflating it. As well as first home buyers, the scheme will also be open to people who have not owned a property in the past 5 years, as well as permanent residents, in a bid to attract more migrants to the regions. The scheme will require legislation to be passed before it can be implemented. The government will also bump up the number of first home buyers it will support with home guarantees by 25,000. Okay, where's the 50,000 coming from? Under the scheme, first home buyers are able to purchase a property with only a 5% deposit and the other 15% of the loan guaranteed by the government. Before, the government was offering 10,000 places each year. It will now offer 35,000. That's still not the 50,000 they're telling us. The Morrison government said the scheme had particularly supported women and frontline workers. 1 in 5 guarantees were issued to essential workers, according to a government statement, with almost 35% being nurses and 34% being teachers. The government also said 52% of guarantees went to women, which was above the market average of 41% for women. So let's hope the MGTOW boys don't watch this episode. It's gonna get them mad. Well, we hear all this rubbish about the pay gap, and I think there's a media release from Victoria I need to go through, which it's rubbish. It's an earnings gap, I'm assuming that's common knowledge. Is it not common knowledge? We've talked to friends, whose wives work in HR, and they believe all this crap. University educated, believe this rubbish. They've never hired someone themselves, so how the hell would they know? I guess it's different when you run a business and you hire a young girl at uni and a young bloke at uni, and they get the same position and you see them work differently. It's funny that. It's almost as if there's some evolutionary drive in men to succeed and to try and achieve and to be valuable, to increase our sexual market value. Almost like there's some biology behind it. But it's 21st century, though. We can't talk about that anymore. It's the bad science. Speaking to ABC Radio this morning, Finance Minister Simon Birmingham rejected criticism that the home guarantee schemes push up house prices and worsen housing affordability. They are measures about supporting home buyers, particularly young Australians, he said. Well, how about, here's another idea, since we're just throwing all the rules out the window, how about if you're under 70, your tax is capped at 10% flat? How about that, to help people buy a home? And what you do is you don't go above it until you buy a home. So then everyone will be renting forever. Make all the landlords happy. We've again achieved growth in areas of first home ownership in Australia, turning around declines that we've seen during the years under Labor. Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers criticised the government for copying Labor's scheme released earlier this month for helping regional home buyers. Labor, wasn't that just a copy of an already implemented scheme anyway? In last year's budget, the first home buyer scheme was extended, and a scheme targeting single parents was added. That's the 2% one. So where are we getting 50,000? So where's this? I haven't seen this 50,000. 5% deposit of 50,000 first home buyers. Come on, Poppy. Where's it coming from? Where are we seeing it here? 10% a year, 25. It's now 35,000. So I don't know where that's coming from. Let's have a look at how our government has juiced up the housing market, guys. How government has come to the rescue. We'll go through this slide here. We've got the cash rate. That's not technically the government, but it's so low now, it's insane. 0.1%. We're seeing interest rates going up at the bank, but those are on fixed mortgages. Variable haven't moved as much. That'll change when the RBA starts lifting the cash rate. Now, 3% used to be considered an emergency rate. What we have now is a bit of a joke. I need a drink here. This is just getting stupid, this. You had Home Builder. Remember Home Builder? We saw the jump. You can see in the graph here on this chart, see that jump, the light blue in home building approvals? That's Home Builder effect. That's why you're talking to people now, everything costs more for houses. And couple that with international shipping, it's just overheated the housing sector. So we're all getting this free money from the government, and it's overheating the housing sector. When you overheat the housing sector, that leads to construction issues, corner cutting, and it leads to builders going under, because then often they won't be making money. The margins are so tight. We've got rumors of another big builder about to go bust. Got first home buyer grants up to 88 grand when you combined all the things that were waived. And I think Tasmania was going at 200 now. But they'll, of course, own a big chunk of your house. How is this not socialism, guys? Where the state workers, the nurses and teachers, get priority support, government money handed to them for their jobs, and now for their homes. We should just do away with all of this. Just start building our Soviet shit boxes for public housing. They pretty much are. A lot of them you look at it. Get that gross concrete with the exposed brown, and just start whacking them up everywhere. You've got 5% government loans and 2% deposits for single parents. I understand. I don't blame people taking advantage of it. Don't get me wrong. I don't have an issue of people taking advantage of the system if it's there. My issue is that the long-term implications of these interventions into the market will be a net negative for all of us. We're seeing this in house prices that are just insanely unaffordable. And you're going to get a bunch of people that are just frustrated. Negative gearing. Now, that's a big one, because that's part of our culture here in Australia. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. And you don't blame them, because we pay so much bloody tax. It's one of the easiest ways to mitigate it. And we also had the super withdrawals. A lot of people used it to, while the super companies were bullshitting that everyone spent it on boob jobs and alcohol, a few nutters did. But then again, that could be an investment to earn your money, well, the boob jobs at least. But a lot of people use that to get a deposit in their house. Now, of course, if we suddenly have a flood of money in, that's going to increase the cost of property. But you also have to understand, this super is your money that previous generations didn't have locked away, and then they could use that to buy a house. You've got people now that are retiring, still in mortgage debt, and then use the super just to pay it off. So what would be better, having a stress-free life longer with less mortgage debt? I would much rather, honestly, that people are able to write off the interest on their primary residence. Wouldn't that be cool? And, I mean, what else do we have, guys? You've got reduced housing supply, the not in my backyard crowd. These are just long-term systematic issues. We had the mortgage holidays. And, yeah, they're the main ones. Oh, these are the other interventions in the market with keeping zombie companies alive. That scared me more than anything, everyone. And I'll have to do an update on how we're going with that. So there we go, guys. I think 35,000, not 50,000, but still, that's nearly, 4 months worth or 3.5 months worth, so a quarter. A quarter of the year's housing supply, new housing stock that's built, or building approvals for houses, is going to be pretty much guaranteed by the government. Think about it like that. Let's talk about this. I think I've made it pretty clear. My concern isn't with people taking advantage of this. If you can, if you're struggling to get a deposit and you can save on the lender's mortgage insurance, take advantage of it. Do it. I'd be careful if the government owns a slice of your house or any of that bullshit comes into it. Check your paper very carefully, cross your T's and dot your I's. But the issue is long-term. This is about all of us, all the citizens of this country, taking on the risks of these loans for a small group of people. The majority of them are government servants, public servants, that are already paid better than most people in the private sector and have got job security that most of us don't even comprehend. That's why many of them have the opinions they have. Because there's no insecurity in their lives with regards to their jobs. They can be completely incompetent and never be fired. But the issue here is, this is just going to increase the cost of housing. What do you reckon, guys? Let me know your thoughts on this one, eh? Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can help out. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon, sign up for SelfWealth or Stake, or use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Take care, everyone. And I will see you all in the next episode of Heise Says. Where'd they get that 50,000 from, guys? Still, 35,000 houses a year. I wonder if it'll turn into what happened in America. I wonder. I hope not.